Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, May 8th Land Planning Agency meeting. If you would, please join us with the prayer and the pledge, please. Dear God in heaven, asking for your blessings on these days, asking for peace in the community, peace in the leadership, peace in our nation, peace in our state, peace across the world. And I ask also that you watch over our service members, both at home and serving abroad. Keep them safe and out of harm's way. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. Public comments. So, if anybody would like to speak tonight on the agenda, there are speaker cards in the back. You can fill those out and just give them to Miss Julie. And then if you do decide to speak, just come up to the microphone and address the board, as well as identify yourself and your address, okay? And is there anybody that's got any comments outside of what's on the agenda that you'd like to address? All right, hearing none. We can move on. So item number 3, the approval of the minutes from the April 10th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any comments?
No comments.
All right, Jim, any comments on the minutes from last month?
No.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve minutes.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2025 LPA meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's taken care of. All right, Madam Chair, or Director, sorry.
All right. Okay, so we just have 2 applications for you this evening. So the first application we have, it is for a subdivision development for preliminary and final review together. This application, they have met all of the parameters thus far for preliminary and final review. So for just for feasibility and time, I would ask that we look at them for preliminary and final review, unless there's any reason not to do that once you're reviewing the application.
And the reason we're doing that is because they've got everything covered for
Yes.
both preliminary and final. Okay, thank you for that
Yes.
clarification.
Yep, they've met all the parameters so far. So this parcel is owned by North Star Acquisitions. The parcel is currently 26.6 acres. It's located off of 125, right across from the intersection of 139B, kind of where the Easy Stop is there across the street. So it currently has a land use category of high density residential and a zoning district of residential conventional 0.25. So this application probably looks familiar. Last year, they went through the process to get those zoning and land use entitlements. It's been in the last 6 to 8 months that this was approved for this zoning and land use district. So it is the intent of the applicant to create a 55 lot single family residence subdivision. So here are your land use and zoning maps. They have not been updated with the new land use categories yet. I know we've had a discussion before. It kind of takes a little while before you see the most recent information online. It's updated internally with the county. That information is then sent over to the property appraiser's office, and their maps are not live maps. So it sometimes can take a couple of months before we see them reflected online. So this is kind of your lot layout here. So again, it would be a 55 single-family residential lots. Each lot contains a minimum of 0.25 acres. So you have a good map there in your packets, in your staff reports. You'll see all of them meet that acreage. Some go up closer to a half acre, just depending on the lot. Each of these lots will be served by the Town of Glenn's municipal water. They will have individual septics. I have talked with the property owner about there are some stricter regulations coming down from the state for septics on lots that are 1 acre. We've had those conversations, so they're very, very aware that they will have to meet those standards. Down here at the bottom, so any subdivision that is 25 lots or more has to have a secondary ingress and egress for emergency purposes. Just in case that main entrance is blocked, fire rescue has to be able to get in there. So this road here is what that is. It will be maintained to a state that is passable for emergency response vehicles. Our fire chief has already reviewed that, and it does meet the parameters that it needs to for his purposes. It will remain gated when it's not used, but there will be kind of like what they put in the storage units. It's called like a knock box that gives them access. The fire rescue will have a key to get into that gate. Or if there is an emergency where the public has to use it, it could be open for the public if the other road was impassable. All of the civil plans that have been submitted and reviewed, they meet all of the requirements for fire protection. Any sort of hydrants or dry hydrants that would be required, they have been submitted, and our fire chief has approved them as well. The interior road that you see here, all along here, and the cul-de-sacs, they will be paved to a standard that meets our county requirement. It will meet or exceed them, and our public works director has reviewed that, and he agrees that it meets those parameters. So in your packet, you should have a layout here. This is, kind of at a glance what you'd be looking at when this was platted. We have all of the easement and drainage information as well. They've completed a full civil plan, and we have that if there's anything specific that you guys would like to look at. So the final plat would have to be approved, signed, and recorded prior to the commencement of any improvements or any of the lots being sold. And any outstanding state permits or water management district permits that may come along in that process would have to be satisfied prior to permitting anything. So with that, staff does recommend approval of the plan as submitted.
Okay. I'll lead off. I like seeing plans like this. It's very well put together. It's clear. We understand it. It's concentrating growth into a specific area, not sprawl. That I do like. On the secondary access, you said the road was approved by the fire chief, but
Yes.
are there inspection standards on that road? Say periodically, once a year, we go out and check and make sure that the road is still in good shape, something like that?
Yeah, there will be maintenance requirements. It'll
Okay.
have to stay to that standard. Yes.
All right.
And that would fall under the same type of maintenance as the ponds and
Yeah.
things like that.
How about you guys? Comments?
Who will oversee the inspections during construction?
Depend which type of inspections specifically?
Just construction inspections to make sure that, there are certain requirements that, densities, make sure that the just the project is built
Yeah,
in
so-
accordance with the plan specs and details, right?
Yeah,
And
so,
typically a third-party agency is hired to
Right.
perform those on-site inspections.
Right. So when we get to that point, we see it go both ways. Either our on-call engineer, who is Mr. Troy Tarbox, either he will be part of that process, or they do have the option for private inspections, but those have to be approved and submitted to staff, and then we will review them. We see that sometimes, and that's the reason I asked for which sort of permits, because sometimes in developments like this, if they are, once they're actually ready to build homes, if they're wanting to build, 10 at a time, sometimes we'll see private inspections for them too. And it's kind of the same process. All of that has to be submitted to and approved by the building official. So that's why I asked which.
Yeah, no, it's just more for the horizontal and underground
Mhm.
development to get it ready to go vertical.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
No comments or questions from me?
Okay, I've got a speaker card. Mr. Cruz, is that for this application? Okay, all right. Just checking, it didn't say for which.
Application?
Give it out.
So I don't
Site
have,
plan.
I don't have an extra one. We can get you an extra one made. I generally,
Site plan and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Are they gonna
we
put a
can-
fence around the whole thing?
it is not gonna be, it's not gonna be like a gated community. It's not going to be,
It does have one, yes.
does it have a fence all the way around?
There is one on the northern perimeter.
But it's not
8-foot wood
encompassing
privacy.
the whole,
I don't know if there'll be one on the east or any of the other sides, but there is a,
I think this was brought up in
I
the
only
last
see
meeting
it-
about the fence going along that north line.
yeah, I only see it along the north. An 8-foot wood privacy fence is noted along the north end.
But that's good. Are they gonna cut all the trees down around the perimeter around this before they build the houses, or?
Yeah, so the property would have to be cleared prior to development so that they can put in the roads and all the infrastructure that would go with the houses.
Right, but I'm talking about around the perimeter and the other thing. Are they gonna take all the trees out? Are they gonna leave so many trees? How are they gonna do that?
So there is not a buffering requirement that they have. Now that's not saying that they won't leave any trees, but that's just not something, they're not required to leave a buffer. So,
Right. Well, my thing is they were trying to pass a bill called,
Sir, could you, if you don't mind, could you come on up to the
Yeah.
microphone for us? And you can fill out the speaker card after you're done. Just your name and address, please, and then.
my name is Alan Bin, and my address is 10881 North County Road 125.
Thank you, sir.
That HB 599 Fallen Tree Act that the state was trying to pass, I guess it died in committee, but I have trees on my property that are pretty tall around the perimeter, and there's tall trees on the north side of that too, that against
Mhm.
my property. So what I want to know is that I won't be liable if they build a house and one of those trees falls, because they might pass something like this later on, the state. And
Okay.
these trees are going to be there, have been there for years, and they're before these houses obviously will be built.
Right.
So-
And you're concerned about liability of
Right.
storm coming through,
Ultimately,
taking out
yeah,
the
storm
big
coming
trees?
through, knock the fence, the 8-foot fence down. I don't want to be liable for that. I don't
Yeah.
want to be liable for anything. So if they want to cut the trees down, they can cut trees down on my property too. I don't know if they're going to take them down or if they're going to leave a buffer, but I don't want to be liable for any tree falling on the fence and me having to.
Yeah, and that
fix
makes
the
sense from a
fence.
property owner's perspective. You don't want to be paying for somebody's brand new house across the way from you.
Right.
I understand that.
Now, if you're familiar with that bill, that's what they wanted everybody, anybody with less than 5 acres was going to have to, that's what that
Take-
Fallen Tree Act is.
Wow.
Was
I
about.
Didn't even hear about it.
Yeah, well, it didn't get through committee as far as I know, so.
It did.
But that doesn't mean it won't happen next year or the year
Correct.
after or whatever.
Yeah, as far as like LaDonna was saying, the director, We don't have any buffering requirements for it. It does meet all of our subdivision requirements.
For actual trees.
But now, as far as, you know, having them take down trees on your property, I'm sure if they're out there land clearing, you could go over and say, hey, if you want to take down these tall pines.
There's a lot of them, yeah, the pines and
Yeah.
the oaks, there's some big ones, and if they fell, last year with the hurricane, a tree fell, it was on their property, it was a pine tree, it took the mobile home, split it right in two.
Ooch.
Right through it, just right across from me,
Yeah.
on the north side of me.
So I did think we had discussed this when we went through the land use and rezoning. So around, there is a spot of wetlands here, and there is a natural vegetative buffer around that and along the street front here, along the highway.
Can you throw that up on the?
Yeah, but I'm gonna be, my property's over here, I'm not too, that doesn't bother me. I don't know that.
So that
See, I'm on the
is,
north side.
so
I'm on
this,
the north side.
this here, there's a natural vegetative buffer there, and then along the street front here. That's what was
That's-
discussed and asked for before.
Yeah, when we did the land
But
change
it
zone.
does not go around the perimeter of the property.
So if they take those trees out, I'd want them to take mine out too.
Yeah, that would be a private matter between you and,
I don't,
Burnham
or not,
Construction.
not be liable in case something happened in the future.
yeah,
Because those trees have been there before me.
understood.
They logged that all out. All this land was logged out like 20 years ago, except for a perimeter. So the old trees are all around the perimeter of the property.
Yeah.
Are they gonna widen 125,
They,
that part of it?
They are not. Before the project was started, we reached out to Pittman Engineering, who provides service for the county, and it was a traffic study was not required. It did not add enough additional traffic for for that to trigger anything. I can tell you that the county, it is on the list for the county to repave that area, but I do not know if widening will come with that repaving. But I do know that this strip is going to be repaved soon. So
Anything else, sir?
No, I guess that's it.
Okay. Well, and as this goes before the county commissioners, if you'd like, I'm sure the David Burnham and team will be up there. You can get to meet them and talk to them about clearing off those tall pines.
Okay.
Terry, did you guys want to talk on this one or the next one?
No, I was
Okay.
talking about having Phil and I was speaking.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And sir, could you fill out a speaker card for us, please? It's right
Right
back
here
there.
beside you.
Beside you, and you can just give it to Miss Julie. Thank you. Okay, any other public comments? All right, now we're back to the board, so what's the pleasure of the board? This is for preliminary and final.
Got a motion to approve the preliminary and final subdivision for development review.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve subdivision development review, preliminary and final on County Road 125 for David Burnham on behalf of North Star Acquisitions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, approved. All right, ma'am, that is for both the preliminary and the final. Cheers.
So the next application you have, this is for subdivision development as well. Very much like the first application. Everything that we would generally review through the preliminary and final process has already been submitted. So I'm going to present those together as one review, if that's okay. Barring any concerns that would not be ready for final review. So this property is owned by Valor, I guess is how you say it. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how we pronounce that name. But they have, Matthew Phillips has been their agent. That's who we've been talking with back and forth. The property is currently 19.99 acres and is vacant. The parcel is located just out Highway US Highway 90 east, out towards the DC and the county line. It's on the north side. The property has a current land use of medium density residential and a zoning of RCMH .5. It is the intent of the applicant to create a 28 single-family residential lot subdivision, each lot containing 1/2 acre or more. So you'll see here, this one went through the process about the same time as the other one. It has not been updated on the county website yet. But I did touch base and make sure that it has been updated. It is just not a live map. So the applicant proposes 28 single-family residential lots. Each one will be 1/2 acre or more. Each of these lots will have a private well and septic. The road information that's been submitted, it meets all of the emergency requirements already, since there are 2 points of ingress and egress that come off of US 90. The interior road does meet the current standards for a road to be adopted by our county, and so that has been approved by our Public Works Director. All of the pond and hydrant information has been given over to our fire chief, and he has agreed that it meets all fire protection aspects. The front lots that are along US 90 and the interior lots, all of them are right at 1/2 acre. Some of these lots towards the back, they're actually 1 acre or more, just because of the width of the back of the lots. There's kind of a little more blown up version there. You can see there is a touch of wetlands that they were not aware of until they started the process. But those, for the most part, will be avoided, and there is just a couple of little spots, and they have worked with the Water Management District to do what's necessary to mitigate any impact that there is. So again, the final plat would have to be approved, signed, and recorded prior to the commencement of construction or the selling of any lots, and any finalization of permits with the Water Management District. And in this case, it does come off of a state road, not a county road. So any permitting with DOT for those access points, that would have to be finalized prior to construction as well.
Okay.
Say that last-
Yeah, go ahead.
Say that last part again about DOT.
So this is a state road, not a county road, so they have to meet DOT requirements.
Yeah.
And any additional permitting that they may require, we have all of the conditional stuff as it is now.
Okay.
But when they get into, actually getting ready to build, if there's anything additional that DOT requires,
Yep.
they have to satisfy that.
Where are they at in that DOT process?
We have a conditional approval.
Okay.
There was a little bit of work with the Water Management District that they were still finalizing before DOT would give the.
Okay. So they're okay with the location?
They are.
Yeah.
They are. So actually, the first application we saw, the roads actually shifted just a little bit. There was a lot of back and forth with DOT in the very beginning.
Understood. What's the driving requirement to have the plat recorded before construction begins?
What's the,
Driving requirement to have the plat recorded before construction begins.
so they will have, everything has to be completely finalized. So any permitting left from DOT will have to be completed prior to us.
It's a couple slides before on the summary.
Uh-huh.
Final plat must be. You
Oh,
passed
yes,
it. Final
yes.
plat must be signed, approved, and
Approved,
recorded
signed, and
prior to
recorded
commencement.
prior to the commencement.
Why does that have to happen?
Because you cannot sell any lots,
Before you sell it, I agree.
Yes.
But so is this before any vertical construction happens?
generally, yes,
Okay.
because we have to have a, the title background, and so it has to be free of any encumbrances.
Okay. So not
When that
prior,
plat's
not prior to
recorded.
the commencement of horizontal construction, but vertical.
If that horizontal construction requires any sort of bond or mortgages, it would have to be recorded first.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Go to the site plan. What's in the that's going to be what, southeast corner? Looks like an easement that's an L shape to the right at the bottom.
Are you talking
Those
about
first
this
two
here?
lots? Nope. Down to that right there to the left.
Uh-huh.
That nope. Between that right to the right. A little bit to that right there. If you follow that up and then an easement to the left, what's that?
That one may be is that drainage.
It's a drainage.
Is that one drainage? Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's. It is. There's a couple of those. If you look in the back section as well.
Yep.
Yep. It's drainage.
Okay, so we're gonna have roadside swells here, and no piping, structures and piping to get to handle the stormwater. Is that what's happening?
I don't want to misspeak. Let me make sure.
I don't
Well-
want to be out of order, Mr. Chairman, but I'm happy to respond to these.
I was just gonna ask.
If you know them off the top of your head, by all
Yeah, I
means.
thank you. I was just gonna ask if you'd like to come up, you can identify yourself, your address, and then
Sure.
fill out a speaker card for us.
Yeah,
That way we
I'll
can
do
keep
so.
moving.
Matt Phillips, Southeast Engineering Group, 11235 St. John's Industrial Parkway North, Jacksonville. And it is going to be open conveyance. It'll be a rural roadway section. We'll have some ditch bottom inlets with piped conveyance. It'll actually be a combination
Okay,
of the two.
and that maintenance will be on who?
It's the HOA.
There
Yeah,
will be an HOA
there will
form?
be an HOA for maintenance of all the common infrastructure.
Okay.
Now there are some structures within the right-of-way that we intend to dedicate back to the county.
Okay.
So I presume that
Inlet information.
that would be county maintained.
Thank you. Okay. That drainage easement that I pointed out earlier, what are we collecting drainage from the DOT, or are we sending it to them?
No, sir. So that this property slopes generally from the southwest to the northeast.
Okay,
So in order to capture that rear lot drainage of those front lots and get it to go to the pond, we have a rear lot swale
okay,
that goes to an inlet and pipes it back into the street. But it's only capturing the runoff from those first two lots.
understood. Okay.
Okay.
The intent is to perform construction beyond the right of way and do pad fill, or are we stopping horizontal development at the right?
No, they will get all these lots pad ready.
So they're going to get them pad ready.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now, they don't have a product yet for each lot,
Okay.
so there still will be some elevating fill required once they figure out what they're putting on a lot
Sure.
and where it's gonna be located.
Okay. And then the location of the drain fill, you know, it looks like it's just arbitrarily to the side. That's gonna change
It's just a
based off the
placeholder,
DEP.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Site-built homes only.
That's my understanding, yes. That's the intent now.
I think
What's the
that's
zoning district
intent,
here?
But
It
we
is
said.
RCMH.
It is
Yeah,
RCMH.
RCMH, yes.
Any deed restrictions?
I don't believe there are any now. This developer develops single-family homes. He doesn't develop mobile home parks, if
Okay.
that's a concern. So I don't think that he's intending to put that product here.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, and she showed you the drawing she had.
Yeah, she showed me the detail on that.
Anything else?
No, I mean, it's my understanding the USPS is getting away from mailboxes, and we're going to mail kiosks.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the mail kiosk going to be located, and where's the pull off going to be?
So
Yeah.
that's actually a call that is made by USPS.
Okay, of where it
So-
goes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The last development that was similar to this,
Yep.
they had to come out. They picked the site. They chose pull off, and actually gave a lot of detail as to what that box had to
Okay.
look like. And
Yeah, so I think that, and it slipped my mind before we approved the prior subdivision, but, you know, just school bus traffic, right?
Mhm.
Where are the kids getting picked up and dropped off at, and where are people checking their mail, right? Making sure
Right.
that we think ahead enough, right?
Absolutely.
That we're creating a safe space for folks to get their mail and not cause a traffic problem or get rear-ended or create an unsafe environment, and then place for kids to be safely offloaded and unloaded onto the bus.
right.
So if that could just be communicated.
And I will tell you, when we send out our DRC comments now, which is environmental health, fire rescue, public works, it also goes out to the school board
Mhm.
for any comments. Mr. Denny Wells did tell us, and both of these, that was something else I was going to share. I did not hear back from him until after I had done the staff reports and sent them out. He did note that school buses at this time would not go through these two developments, that kids would be coming to
90.
one of the entrance or exit there. Now, through further conversation, that is something that could change later, but as of right now, for both developments, they would catch the bus at 125 and at US 90.
So those are very valid points, and so.
Yes, and so, and I was gonna say with that, it may be something that we need to look at, maybe adding USPS to that review in situations like this.
Well, yeah,
for
I
some
mean, it
clarity
just
ahead of time.
being familiar with the development, you know, of large size, you know,
Right.
in the greater Jacksonville area,
Mhm.
there's already once a project goes through the civil design process, that location is already selected, right?
Right.
So someone somewhere is figuring out where that needs to go and designing a pull off for that,
Right.
right? So I don't know how we can get that information before we get to this point, so
Right.
that it's already included in the package and on the plans. But I'm with you there. What did he give a reason for why they're not gonna? I mean, that seems like a simple loop to keep kids
He-
safe. I mean, that's a highly trafficked
Right.
road with tractor trailers.
He did not.
Okay. Is it possible to? I know
It-
this has got. We're just a
It is.
a hearing board
it's
here.
definitely something
But
that
if we
I
could get
can,
some information
I can
on
talk with him
before the next
prior
hearings.
prior to the next hearing
That'd be great.
and maybe get a little bit of clarification. You know, is it something at so many houses will they then begin to go through? Is there some sort of formula that they use to determine that?
Right, because
you
I don't know, without pulling up a map and looking at addresses past this one. I mean, we're going to be on the far skirts of
And I
town here to
know-
where the bus is going to have to find a place to turn around somewhere.
So I'd be curious, just in that conversation, right next door,
Yep.
you have Thomas
Thomas
Drive
Drive.
here. So in that conversation, how is traffic or how is
How is the bus
school
turning
bus
around?
handled there?
Well,
are they
yeah, I
making a
mean,
loop straight
They're
through?
based off of latest aerial imagery. There's not another residential address in the east end of the county.
Right.
So I mean, from a practicality standpoint, the bus is not going to do a 3-point turn on 90.
Absolutely.
So why a representative would make that statement without putting some thought into it, as simple as it's taken us 2 minutes to figure this out, is
Right.
concerning to me. So if we could go back to them and see
Absolutely.
if we can't get that potentially changed, that would be great.
Well, and with you bringing that up, as we're going through the EAR, whenever we start that process, I already gave you comments about subdivision feedback and exemptions to that. I don't know if you shared it back out with everyone else, but I had no consideration for the mailbox kiosk. So
Right.
in those that feedback or the analysis that I'd done earlier, that we also put that into our LDRs and
Right.
in our comp
And to
plan.
make that part of future
part of our
review.
subdivision
Absolutely.
requirements.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other comments from the board? Gave very good feedback, thanks. Appreciate it. Mr. Cruz, you're up, sir.
I'm Terry Cruz, 11307 North Thomas Drive, which is, I own the second lot all the way around, all those lots.
Okay.
My main concern, the subdivision, I said, I don't have no objections to none of that. That's their business. My problem is between where they're going, on the west side, there's a DOT ditch. There's a box culvert that goes all the way under US 90. 35 years ago, I went to the county to see if I could get that ditch cleaned. They said they couldn't touch it because it was a state ditch. I tried to get a hold of the state, they would never come. So I took my dozer and a backhoe and cleaned it out the best I could. Probably could have got in trouble for it, but I want to see the water flow. But anyway, my concern is the runoff.
Yeah.
Because they're going to build it up.
Yep.
And that ditch hardly takes care of me. And now you're gonna line some houses up there. And I know they're gonna have a retention pond and all that, but still it's gonna be sitting like that. And like he said, the fall from US 90 to the back of our property, the back of his is about 6 foot. So when water does come, it boogies through there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's my only concern, is if this thing goes forward, maybe y'all can connect with the state and get that ditch cleaned. Or if the state says y'all gotta clean it, I clean my half, you clean your half, whatever. But before they get a lot in there, it needs to be cleaned. I've seen the water go over my septic tank right there because the water not flowing there. And I got septic tanks 15 foot from the edge of the right of way of that ditch.
Yes, sir.
So,
So to that point, I know that it's they've gone through the full permitting process here with a full civil engineer, full cil design, and their agencies far above the county that actually require all of their stormwater to stay on their site. So they legally cannot have a drop of rain leave their property boundary and go to you. So they have to design the site with grades and elevations that require that water to go to a centralized location.
I was underground utility contractor at one time. I've done with all this stuff, so yeah, I understand.
Okay.
But I just wanted to bring it up. I mean, what they do is, like I say, it's up to them.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to see if that ditch could be cleaned, you know, because there is gonna be some water coming over there.
Sure.
They ain't gonna be able to stop it. I've lived there for almost 40 years,
Okay.
and, but that's my only thing.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, maybe Miss LaDonna, I know we do a lot of work with the DOT and are involved with them. Maybe the road department can reach out to the contacts.
Ask some questions about
Yep.
that ditch and who's responsible for maintaining it and what that agreement looks like, and is that an agreement that maybe needs to be updated, you know?
Yeah, because it's got trees in it that's been around now. 145 years ago. I mean,
Yes,
look,
sir.
I got old.
Yes, sir.
Imagine what the trees did. But I thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you, Mr. Cruz. It's been a couple minutes. You did my septic years ago out there in North Anderson. Might have to call you back, redo it.
If it lasted this long, you done good.
Yes, sir. Yep. All right. Thank you, sir. Sir, did you have any other comments before I take it back to the board?
I'm happy to respond to Mr. Cruz's.
Yes, please do. Yeah, please come on up.
Sure. So, to answer some of your questions, the DOT drainage ditch is in a right-of-way off our property, so we can't get in there and clean it out. I don't know how much influence we'll have on the DOT to do that sort of maintenance. And as one of the commission members said, we are taking all the drainage away from that ditch. We would be willing to alleviate some of your concerns to put in a parallel ditch along that western property line on our side that would intercept any runoff that may come that way and take it to our pond. It's not intended that any runoff is going to be coming that way, but if it would make you feel a little better about things, we'd be willing to offer that up. It would be parallel to the DOT ditch. We can't tie into that DOT ditch.
Y'all probably not on the fence, correct?
I don't believe there's a fence proposed.
There's a fence there, and it's on the property line where all the trees.
Yeah, yes.
Ditch is.
Yes, sir. So we're not planning on removing that fence. That's on the property line. It's shown to remain. We're basically leaving the grades as they are on those western lots.
Let me deal with it.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what you're saying.
No. I'm
What
saying
you saying?
if you want the fence removed and it's on our property, we'd be happy to do that.
Well.
We're trying to minimize the impacts to the neighborhood.
Either way, who cleans the ditch?
The
Right,
DOT.
good, right, the state good. If it's gonna go to it, then.
That's a DOT issue because
Yeah.
the ditch is not on our property. It's in a DOT right of way. So I can't. If the fence is in there.
So, Mr. Cruz, I think, though, just like Ms. LaDonna was saying, that she'll get with the road department
Yeah.
and figure out who's responsible for that, and then, talk with the developer, talk with you guys. I put a note on your speaking sheet to call you back with the updates, and they'll take it from there. But you did raise it up. It's noted. It's part of the record, and thank you for that. And then developer, you, and the road department can figure out how we manage that.
Maybe we could just talk to somebody and see about getting it maintained and, what the existing agreement looks like with DOT, since it is a DOT right away.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, sir?
That's what I'm doing.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, back to the board, closing the public session. Any other comments from the board? LaDonna, you have anything for us?
I do not think so.
Okay.
I think that's it.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve subdivision for development review preliminary and final for Sadie Pines.
A
Matthew.
motion? Tell me more.
Oh, geez.
In what context are you thinking about a motion? Are you perhaps thinking about a legal motion?
Sorry about that.
I'm pretty sure you told us all to silence our devices,
I did.
didn't you?
It is silence, but from ringing, I was not expecting that. All right, trying this over. Okay, we've got a motion for subdivision development review, preliminary and final for Sadie Pines, Matthew Phillips on behalf of Vivori Homes LLC. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. AI, be quiet.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And,
All right.
I will
Thank you, guys.
See who I can speak to between now and the next meeting and reach back out to you.
You
with
need a
maybe some
speaker for
maintenance
that one,
information.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes those have sometimes those maintenance agreements will have a cycle,
Ma'am,
you know, it's supposed to
can you
be
guys give me a
every,
speaker
you know,
card?
every so many months, every so many years. Those agreements. are
Do you need to fill one out?
Yes, please.
The agreement.
It is. That is not an ideal agreement, is it? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do we need to take your phone away?
Dude, I'm thinking.
I feel like somebody has a toddler with their phone. You know?
Dude, and I
like-
came in and I specifically put it on mute and everything else. I'm like, okay. All right, that was pretty uneventful. Thank you. Did you get the speaker card? Oh, he's holding it out. Would you pass it down there? That's Julie. Okay, what else, ma'am?
So that is all that I have. I will say these two applications. I feel like we did all of the hard work ahead of time, and if all of our applications came to us in a full package like this, my job would be a lot easier.
That's nice,
So-
and I like that they're complete, and that we address the roads because
Right,
it's a
right.
constant theme around here: roads, roads, roads.
Right.
And I know the county commissioners are talking about making everything private, HOA, this, that, and the other. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but not this past meeting, but the meeting before. Talked to Chairman Anderson, said I'd like to get a workshop with the LPA and the county commissioners so we can talk about roads.
Right.
You know, these came in very good, and this is what people are wanting.
It is.
You know, I mean, we want to maintain the rural character of the community, so if we're going to consolidate the growth into certain areas and prevent urban sprawl everywhere, not everybody wants to move out here and buy a tractor and a box blade and,
Right.
a root rake. I mean,
Right.
I do, because that was my motivation to come out here back in '84, but this is kind of our future, what it's going to look like.
Right.
And so if we've got the roads taken care of and addressed, we'll give the county some relief and give the people that are moving out here a chance to enjoy the rural beauty of the area, but still, not have to slop through no dirt roads.
Right. I agree. I
They're going to be
agree.
out here in their Prius and I'll roll by with my Duramax. That wasn't right. But anyways, back to you, ma'am.
So that's all I have. I did put, some items if you guys wanted to talk about any of those items tonight. So I know the first couple we had discussed, I guess 2 meetings ago. We had discussed a couple of those subdivision requirements and stuff, but I did give you at the beginning of the meeting just some spot zoning analysis that Mr. Shepherd had prepared. I don't know if you guys want to look over that and discuss it at all, or if you've had any ideas over the last, if you in the last month had some great vision of how to fix the issue, I'd love for you to share it. But
Well, I've got some recommendations in here on the spot zoning, but are we going to have some workshops where we can sit down and talk through some of this? Because, getting this at the top of the meeting and saying, okay, now let's talk about spot zoning kind of puts everybody on the spot. Yes, we should go home and do our homework, but we've also got kids and family and T-ball and everything else.
Right,
So I'm thinking
right.
if we could get, how is it coming along with the contractor that you're working with?
So,
On that front?
so we had,
And then I'm gonna turn it back over to the board, but it's just.
we have,
questions.
we had been talking with two different agencies that we have contracts with already. Because of the price involved in this process, we are going to have to go through RFP, RFQ, one or the other, and them actually submit a bid and the board approve that.
What's this for?
For the
our comp plan
EAR update,
amendment.
comp plan updates?
Yeah.
We're gonna hire an external contractor to do the analysis beyond what we've done to bring it into compliance and alignment with the LERs and the comp plan. And now we've got two contractors, so we've got to put it
And
out for bid.
both of which we've had lots of conversations back and forth, a lot of good information, and then we got quotes from both, and they were substantial. And so we're going to have to go through an official process to choose one
And
of
what is
those.
the average lead time, procurement time to, I'm afraid we're gonna run out of time.
It's 6 months to do anything with the government.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That honestly, that's not an answer I have.
All right, because if we say we gotta generate an RFP, then get it approved, submit it, get Rich to sign off on it, then we gotta let the contract, put it out, get the bids, that's another 30 days.
So we'll have it'll be ready to be submitted very soon for advertisement. So
Okay, but then it's probably another 60 days, so it's now May, that puts us in July, and we gotta have this done by April.
I promise I feel your pain.
Okay, so that's gonna have to be a,
Are these budgeted dollars? Are these in the budget? or not?
So we have, when we went into budget cycle last year, we did budget, there was an allotment budgeted for this.
Okay.
The quotes that we got back were way over what we had budgeted.
Okay. So I mean, just forward thinking here, I know, I mean, you go through that process come back, the commissioners are gonna ask where the money's gonna come from,
Right.
you know, so
Right.
are we going through the
So
process
depending
to go through
on-
the motion just to get told no? And
Well,
then-
no, not necessarily. It's going to be one of those things that a portion of it is going to fall within this budgetary year and a portion within next year.
Okay.
So it may be something that the work that is done between now and October, we may be able to cover it in what we have already budgeted. And then cover the rest of it with next year's budget.
Okay.
So
All right,
we
so that
may
covers-
not have to ask for a budget amendment,
Yeah.
but when those quotes come back, depending on how that time frame is laid out and when those prices are going to be, or when the payment's going to be due, you know, will depend
all
on
right,
that.
so that.
And last time this
Sorry.
was done, like an individual consultant was used,
Mhm.
and so the process was quite a bit different. It took way longer than it should have, and it wasn't the standard process. So what we had to compare it to was not typical. We were comparing apples to oranges. So we got ahead of it the best we could, but
Right, so that said, is there any barriers preventing us as a volunteer board
to have public workshops,
to go through with the analysis that I've already
not.
submitted? And then we can take our feedback, and then whenever this RFP gets approved,
right?
then they can take that into consideration.
There is nothing against that.
Because if
there's
we
nothing saying
sit
we
here
can't
and
do that.
sit on our thumbs and say, we gotta wait until the contract is approved, we're in the September, fellas.
Right, and you know, potentially any work that's done in that workshop that may cut down you know, could cut down their time frame. Could be one less public workshop they have to hold for us, you know.
So do you guys want to discuss spot zoning now, or do you want to set a workshop for next couple of weeks or a month? Before
So
the next meeting?
my question for you guys, not just for us to have a workshop for us, but when we get into a point that we're having public workshops with whoever we're going to use, I need your preference as to, are we holding a workshop before the public meetings that we're already having, or are we having it on a secondary day of the month? So, you know, would you guys want to have something to where you're coming in at, you know, we're coming in at 3 o'clock and starting a workshop before the meeting, or a secondary Thursday?
I'm flexible either way. My preference would be a separate meeting.
Okay.
When I was chairman 2 times ago, when we were doing it, we had the first meeting was a business meeting like this is, and then the the following Thursday or the Thursday thereafter, we had a dedicated workshop. So we were just heads down,
Right.
focus on what we needed to go through. Here's our list of priorities, and then we would go through it. Otherwise, we ended up trying to cram it in before the public meeting, and then we never got time to come back and review it. But I'll do
Then
whatever
if you're in the
board
middle of a
wants.
thought, you don't have to stop to go into public meeting.
What do you guys think?
I think I would lean towards a separate meeting as well. However, I'm like you, I'm flexible.
Okay, so that's 2 for a separate meeting. Gabe? You're the one that's always busy. The rest of us.
Busy man.
Which is why I would say I want to come and do this in one day. So,
Understood.
yeah, for me personally, you know, like right now I'm missing a baseball game to be here, right? Baseball games are they're every Thursday. So, you know, I would now that
Okay.
so for me with all the stuff I've got going on, just spending one day doing it would work better for my schedule, but I don't have to be at every single workshop.
No, as long as you got
So-
feedback, or you can share feedback.
That's right.
And then you could, you know, print those off or
Absolutely.
send them out
Absolutely.
electronically so we can review them.
You know, hey, these are our topics. What are your thoughts on these topics? If we know that you can't, you know,
Okay, so
can't
we're
be here a certain day.
2 for a separate meeting, 1 for combined. Sir?
I'm open, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, how about you?
I can be flexible. Either way.
All right,
for
flip a
me.
coin, you guys.
Do 2 separate meetings. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
That works
All
better
right.
for everybody. So that's
2
good.
separate meetings.
Okay.
So let's keep the first meeting for business.
Right.
And if
then
it's
the
a short
second.
session, maybe we can get through something.
Right.
You know, if we're a half an hour in or something, but
Right. We can always, kind of how it's listed now, we can always have some topics
Yeah.
for possible discussion. You know, if we have a short agenda,
yep.
you know.
I will try and finish up my analysis on the rest of it, send it over to you, and you can send it out. By no means, guys, take what I'm saying as gospel. It's just my feedback on it, okay?
Yep.
It's out there to spur conversation. Say, what do we
So,
want to be when we grow up?
I will look at, because workshops do have to be advertised just like any other public meeting. Let me look at advertising deadlines for,
Okay.
if we could make a secondary.
And if you could extend that throughout the whole year.
I do know that, I think that would put us the week of Memorial Day for a secondary.
Yeah. Well, that's
So,
fine. I'm not going anywhere.
So I'll look and see if it's even feasible for us to be able to meet advertising deadlines. If it is, I'll send you guys that date and you can
And
let
then
me know.
could you just roll that
then
through
we
the
can-
end of the year? So that way the press knows that it's already done.
Right.
And then if we don't meet, we don't meet.
Right. But it's been advertised
Yes.
for that potential.
Instead of having to react.
So would we typically do it like the second and the fourth Thursday then?
I'm
of the
thinking,
month?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let me see if we can make that happen for this month, or if it would be next month before we can
So
make
what are we
that.
planning, 2 hours or
I say just an
an
hour.
hour?
So would
And I
you
mean,
guys?
if we get into it, it may take us longer, but we can decide that. But I would say plan for an hour.
Would your preference still be for a 6 o'clock start time, or would you, or a 5 o'clock start time?
I would say 6 because folks got to come out of Jacksonville. I mean, I know when I was working in Jacksonville, I'm doing freelance consulting right now for stuff, but it was crazy trying to beat feet
Yeah.
out of Jacksonville to get out here for a 5 o'clock meeting.
Heaven forbid there's an accident or something.
Yeah. Does that work for y'all? 6?
Yeah, 6 is better than 5
Yeah.
for me. Still at work at 5.
Okay.
Okay. Not a problem.
Okay, cool.
I'll let you guys know something.
Any other updates for us? Staffing announcements, anything?
We are hoping to maybe do some interviews soon for planner position.
Okay.
So we'll see about that. Also, Miss Catherine has put in her resignation, so we're going to be advertising for
New
an
alternate.
additional alternate member. So
So if you guys know anybody that you
know
want to
anybody
get on
that
board?
may be interested, tell them to come see us.
Okay. All right, what else? Gents, ladies? Nothing? Meeting adjourned.
All righty, thank you.